Hello and welcome to the Face Downs, your source for TCG news and all things Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Lucas.
I'm Ruben.
And I'm Joe.
And once again, we are joined. Oh, okay. Right. The fourth member of the Face Downs. Yeah.
Staking his claim above Joe in his ability to memorize the intro to our episodes, let me tell you.
Right. Well, welcome back. We're once again joined by our illustrious guest and testing partner, a member of the former team Europrint, Dino. How are you doing, Dino?
Yeah, pretty good. Coming off of regional top, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty busy weekend all around for Yu-Gi-Oh! Joe, how has your weekend started? Or how was your weekend?
Wasn't too bad. I played Drytron for the first time, which was quite fun. Wasn't fun for anyone else, but yeah, I won the Hobby League, and that was that. And then I sort of just chilled for the rest of the weekend, keeping an eye on the Auckland event, and yeah.
Yeah, well, no ban list, so same old stuff.
Yep.
We're coming to you at a time where there has been no ban list, but I guarantee you we will stop this recording, wake up tomorrow to a ban list, and go, time to do another one. So yes, like Joe said, we have just come off a kind of a double header weekend, at least for one person who attended the regional on Sunday. This weekend, New Zealand had two regionals. We had one based in TCG Collector in Christchurch, for all the South Island players, and yesterday we had one for the North Island players in Mcintyre that was hosted by Shuffle and Cut. Great turnout to both events. I think 36 people, 38 people for TCG Collector, and then 73 people for Shuffle. So very large turnout. What are your thoughts on this amount of people showing up, Lucas?
Me? I don't know, it's cool. I wouldn't say it was a bad thing. I don't think anyone would.
I mean, are you surprised to see so many people?
No, not even surprised. I mean, this is kind of what events got to before the times, and everyone's been frothing to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I played a lot of people that hadn't played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a while or had just started. Regionals really bring people out. People like those deck boxes, you know. Dino, you can attest to having quite the collection.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan of having more places to stick my Jack decks. It's a really great sight seeing like these 6-7 round events that are consistently happening. I remember before lockdown we'd get consistently 5-round events and that'd be it. So it's nice having the extra couple of rounds. You can really see the people that build their decks to manage the marathon rather than just high roll to get their invites.
Yeah, it's less sacky, and also, you know, you are generally seeing better deck building in Top Cut than when you just go to Hobby.
I mean, it also makes a lot of difference because 5 rounds is only top 4, 6 rounds is top 8. So that one additional round, that 33rd person gives 4 other people a chance to succeed. So I think it's really incredible that that's kind of the turnout that we're seeing. So yeah, super busy weekend for Yu-Gi-Oh! All round. We obviously, both events had a top 8. I guess we'll start with South Island. They were on Saturday. This event was won in Swiss by, the unofficial champion of the New Zealand, Samuel.
No, it's a different Sam.
No, it's not.
No, it's the same one.
No, it's Sam.
What is it, Sam M? I thought his name was Sam John.
That's his middle name.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, congrats. Wow, man's really on a tear.
Yeah, well, love our content. So yes, he took out Swiss with the Tri-Brigade Luralisk build. I mean, we've talked about it. This deck is very powerful. It's really good at doing exactly 2 things. Making a huge board or Zeus, quite often both. Honestly, I will say kind of as a preface, obviously, if you're not watching along with us, you won't be able to see the lists, but just as a kind of general rule of thumb, there wasn't a lot of spice in terms of like side decking, and I think that's due to the fact that this format is you're pretty able to identify said threats, and the things that this meta can present. For example, just looking at Sam's list, you just see Droll, Drooler, Cosmic, Featherstorm, Reboot, Imperial Order. Like, I mean, I'm sure I'm not alone in this sentiment when we go, that's a lot of the same.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's kind of important there. Like, he knows that when going into a tournament in the Christchurch, they're always super diverse. So you just kind of put in like board breakers and like don't really worry about the specifics, I suppose, like in the format. Whereas like you'll probably find the top cut in Auckland would be, more catered towards like Swordsoul and the Lureless Tri Brigade in your side.
Well, fun fact, there were no Swordsoul decks.
There was a
There was
singular.
one Swordsoul deck in Christchurch. So anyone who prepared for that deck with token collectors was feeling real bad.
And why do you guys think that is? Why do you guys think that Christchurch just had next to no representation when in Auckland there were 10 people piloting that deck? That was over an 8, like that was like a seventh, under a seventh of how many people showed up. Like, why do you think Swordsoul wasn't shown or didn't just show up in Christchurch?
I've played in Christchurch before, and I know quite a few of the players down there, and like I think they just really like playing Rogue and like having fun. I know that like obviously playing Swordsoul at a tournament is probably a good idea considering it's the best deck at the moment, but I don't know. They always seem to enjoy Rogue. I mean, we even spoke in the last podcast about how they have the non-meta tournament as well, so maybe it's a little bit of that kind of going over to the regionals as well. But yeah, that's why I think anyway.
It's also very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it helps that, Swordsoul is 5 times as expensive as pretty much every other meta deck. Like, even Sam's list, aside from Droplet, most of this stuff is at common or rare, reprinted in the tins. Of the 2 meta decks, like, this is the one that you would pick if you're trying to...
very much the more budget-friendly approach. And that's not a bad thing. Like, it's really cool when you see budget decks succeed. Things a la Sky Striker. Oh, not Sky Striker. Opposite of budget, actually. One of the most expensive. Salamangreat. Literally one of the most budget-friendly decks in terms of, like, core engine. And like you said, apart from, your extra staples or things that you require, that was a very cost-effective deck. And I think that's really a good testament to what gets played.
I think as well the product delays around our legendary was it Synchro Storm. So Baron was definitely a hard card to pick up in New Zealand, like going into it. So a lot of people probably just never picked up the Swordsoul like deck when it first came out in New Zealand because of the accessibility of that card. And I guess like going into the regional season, they're probably like, oh well, we'll just stick with what we've been playing for however long and not bother picking up the deck, I suppose.
Yeah, I can see that. So second place was James Mcintyre in South Island, and he was piloting as the Konami are so beautifully dubbing it, Hero Trap Tricks, putting that really lovely hero category to any deck that wants to jam in a DPE. Lucas is a hero player. How do you feel about this representation?
I'm happy they're getting played. I mean, Fusion Destiny is a good card.
Destroy Phoenix Forces.
And these decks are playing more hero cards than Shadol Invoked is playing Shadol cards. So I guess to that degree, these are hero decks, but I don't know. DPE doesn't feel like a hero card, even though I love it in the hero deck. It's kind of like a bastard. Sort of, I don't know, like Stratos was never really a hero card like back in the day either. He was a Dark Arm Dragon enabler or a totally awesome enabler. Like, heroes have never really been able to play with their own best cards without everyone else stealing them, I'd say.
Hero lives just dark.
Still at 1 because of everyone else.
Yep.
I blame y'all.
That's on you.
We're seeing again Trap Tricks though showing up a little bit more in New Zealand. Like we saw in Palmies, a couple of the Palmy tournaments, we had Trap Tricks in the top cut.
No Temple of the Kings, so
no Temple of the
less
Kings,
interested.
No. But
replaced it with Fusion Destiny.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's still a bit of a dice roll deck, but like it's a decent trap deck if you get to go first.
Yeah, Dino, what are your thoughts for like a back row deck this format? Because it seemed to be quite represented in Auckland, but didn't really perform too well. Why do you think that is? There was 7 Eldritch players.
Oh, I didn't see any.
I didn't end up playing against any back row decks.
Yeah, neither.
Usually because they will just lose to not seeing their engine. Because playing a back row deck, you have to play such a small engine of monsters. Like Eldritch have like less than 10 names in the deck that like can start you on turn 1. And that just loses you games and loses you matches in these longer events. Over the first couple of rounds, I saw a Zombie World Eldritch player on table 1, and then he very quickly just dropped off and did not do anything. Like, just lost 2 games in a row, and he's out.
Yeah, and do you think that's because the meta is more maybe attuned, like people are ready to not deal with back row?
I think a lot of people respect it enough in the fact that almost every side deck had evenlies or twins or cosmics or like some combination of all of those, including every single deck should be running a red reboot right now, without question. It's almost good enough to be in the main deck, I say, personally.
Yeah. A red reboot is and was and still continues to be the answer to any trap-based strategy.
I just think the best control decks right now aren't trap decks. Like, the best control deck of the format is probably still Invoke Dogmatic Shaddoll, and that's, like, not a trap deck. It plays, like, 3 traps that are all searchable. And then everything else is just using recurable resource engines like DPE, really, is, like, the main reason. That forms every control deck now. And the best control decks are the ones that can play DPE, which means stuff like Altergeist that type locks them, you know, they're not quite as strong. I mean, Altergeist did well at the regional.
Yeah.
I think Marshall came 10th. But that's why Eldritch is seeing so much more play. And I guess Trap Tricks, you know, they don't lock themselves very quickly. So I guess you can play DPE in it.
They don't lock themselves at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of the best part of it. And, you know, the brilliance of something like Serra and Kalaria and even Rafflesia and Alameris, is they're unaffected by things like we see Torrential. You just blow up a board and you're like, oh, I've got all my monsters, and in fact, I'll summon something from deck now. Like,
I'm surprised he wasn't. Oh, no, I was going to say he wasn't playing Verte. He is, because you have Parallel Exceed Sarah is just like full combo into DPE as well. Pretty nice.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
The next few decks get very weird.
Yeah, they get weird fast.
Yeah, I mean, so third place we saw Earth Machine or Earth Machina. I will say, total side note, I would like to shout out, I believe it was Jameson Tarawa at the Auckland Regionals. He was playing Gizmek.
Pure Gizmek, baby.
Pure Gizmek. And that deck looked amazing. I believe someone was like, oh yeah, pass turn. He just went, okay, cool, kill you. Just the flattest, quickest kill. And I was like, I like that. So, I mean, Earth Machine continuing to kind of prove itself, exist in this kind of interesting scenario. It's not an FTK, once again, a little less fascinated at that one. I think all in all, though, this is pretty standard for an Earth Machine or Earth Machina deck. I really have no point of reference, unfortunately.
You just look at these cards and go like, these are all like bad cards, but I guess if you draw the right combination of them, they're really good. Like Tunneler, all the Infinitrack extenders, Deracrane. It does stuff.
I mean,
for
also
sure.
redeployment is just like pantheism. Like, you just discard a Machina, search 2 cards. Like, strong.
This deck's fun.
Yeah.
I like watching it pop off, even if like ultimately it doesn't do a ton going first. It's still accrues a lot of advantage, and I don't know. That's fun to watch.
And Isaac's been playing this deck for a long time.
He has.
So
he beat me with it at one event, actually.
Yeah.
I respected tactics too much, and then after the match, I'm like, oh, like, do you play tactics? Because it really felt like you were trying to bait out my Appaloosa, and he goes, nah. And I guess he took my advice because he's playing it now. It's really good in this deck because you just activate like 70 cards a turn, and your opponent just, if they interact with any of them, you go, cool, draw 2 cards, and then keep playing.
And then we have Goki.
Yeah, baby. This is a pile.
The common charity early forefront or forefront runner until the format got solved.
What the hell is this deck?
What in the Willy Wonka is
There's
going
just
on?
like, there's 2 Infernoble cards in here, I guess, for Isolde shenanigans.
I mean,
it's creative.
It kind of.
Do you know what you looking at this list?
Yeah, or like, it kind of makes sense. So Durandal
Yes.
such as Red Layer or Fireflint, which are like
Just a warrior extender. Yeah.
And then Renault's just a free summon. And
If you control a
most of it-
fire warrior. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can set it up pretty easily. And then they've got the Codebreaker stuff in the extra deck, which is, I guess, I would say it's to make the second power load, but they're only on 1.
No, it's to make Verte. This is like the Goki combo where you like turbo and Appaloosa and then just make every good Link monster ever printed.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool, funny.
Dragoon.
Dragoon,
You know?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, to be honest, like, that's another talking point. This is the first one we've seen with Dragoon after the menace that we all thought it was going to be. I mean, I feel like it's pretty safe to say that Destroyer Phoenix and Falls has really asserted itself into this meta
Yeah.
as potentially the superior fusion that's not your fusion.
I'm still looking at it. It's
Superior engine, for sure.
It's the sided 1 risk Scorpio for me. that's really that's doing it for me.
Anyway, moving on to the next deck to confuse ourselves even more.
Oh my. Okay, this is kind of based though. This is kind of hot. I like this one.
So we had
This place is Monarchs.
with Monarchs, yeah.
This is really interesting.
He's playing 3 Vanity's Ruler. Unbelievable.
I mean,
this deck's cool.
It's cool because I mean, it's domain Monarchs, and like people still kind of forget that like domain is a card. Like that.
We literally had this Dean and I had this conversation. He's also, while I continue this, I can see the Flawanda is a continuous spell in here too. Dean and I had this conversation that like, sure, you can't like target and stuff, but domain's still like a really good field spell that everyone goes, yeah, okay, I can't, no.
I like seeing Uncamouflaged here, like the new stuff, and what was that? Proof of Proof-less? Like the stuff everyone's like, oh, this will be playable in Monarchs. It is, I guess.
Yeah. We see the one Cellar Glare.
Yeah, this person's just playing every kind of new card that everyone was sort of hyped about for Monarchs that never did anything.
Cool.
They did something here.
This didn't break a lot because it's only on 280 and 280s.
Yeah, and it's on 3 Vanity's Ruler. Like,
and it's on 42 cards.
Oh my god.
Honestly, it's done.
Just draw Pantheism.
Enough, though, I suppose. Like to get the.
It did really well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this deck is very much I really hope I draw my Vanity's Ruler because you cannot search it.
I mean, we call this one the guaranteed lithium feature.
Yeah. 6th place, we had Liam Gill. I believe that you so actually had the card Bandit Gill. Oh, Liam Garrity.
Yeah.
That's Gill came 9th.
Oh,
bridesmaid. Funny. Someone else that we know came 9th in Auckland, but we'll get there. So Garrity, Cybus, Eldritch, I saw Riley harping on about this. I don't really know why. Like, surely this is one of the worst engines to put with Eldritch.
It's a 1-card engine. Like, you just play it and do stuff.
To what? To Verte? Is that kind of the gig? Oh, it's like Dagda, Verte, Eldritch? Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much.
Wow.
It's just doing the same stuff Eldritch does. Put something else with Eldritch. Win. That's good.
The upside is your search spell Sunnet Mining. You just discard an Eldritch Trap that you don't need.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Which is like the only minus energy that's like.
It's like the worst Jet Synchron ever made.
Yeah, the worst fateful event.
The things people will do to mimic a fraction of Jet Synchron's power.
Mind-blowing. 7th, we had Sean Hu. This is also on Tri-Brigade Luralisk. No, this is just regular Tri-Brigade.
Yeah, for some reason this is called Bird Up, but there's not a single... There's a DD Crow in here.
I just immediately saw 3 Rescue Cat, and I went, that's not the deck.
This is actually the deck that, spoiler alert, won the top cut of the Auckland Regional, and this is looking...
came first and after top
This is looking pretty similar. This is looking pretty hot. I mean, this deck's good.
Ain't broke, don't fix. That's really my sentiment with anything Tri-Brigade related.
They are on Crossout.
Yeah, I see that too, yeah. It's like...
I think this is the first Crossout we've seen out of these deck lists.
I think, there were definitely people were playing it at Auckland as well. I think maybe trying to like tap into some unknown spice, given that no one's been playing it. No one's playing around it. For example, everyone kind of predicted that people would move to slightly more unusual hand traps, which hasn't happened. Which does mean that Crossout is safer because you can just go, well, everyone's playing Imperm, so at the very least, this just negates an Imperm, right?
Yeah.
Not the worst card in the world, but you can also draw extenders. I think is what people have generally settled on. Anything spicy with this list?
Pure Tri-Brigade still like has a place. Like Revolt's still a card, and Revolt DPE is like pretty nuts.
Certainly watching it yesterday. Swordsoul, DPE, like they're all really cool cards, but Revolt is just so much stronger than anything else in this format. Yeah. When someone resolves a Revolt in a simplified game state, it's like the snowball happens in a turn. It's not even like Striker with Engage. It's like, no, you're dead right now. Like, immediately you are dead.
Yeah. They literally go, +3 or 4 from a Revolt at times. Like, so,
I mean, they're trading a card on field for a card on field that also banishes a card, and then you get to add a card. So it's +2.
Yeah, that's right. And theoretically, the card as well. Yeah.
Well, all the Tri-Brigade monsters go +1. So... Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so I think it still has a place in the meta anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the icon, the legend, Troy Reeves.
Let's go.
Aptly named Gluru Control.
6 Solemns.
6 Solemns.
Summon limit Tickaboo in main. Let's go.
Yeah.
3 Ref, 3 Tactics, 3 Prosperity.
the thing is I've seen Troy play this deck, and like he's been playing this for like so many years now that like he knows ins and outs of it, and he knows what traps are good for like the meta where he is. So like he always mainboards everything that he knows is going to go well in Christchurch and Dunedin, and he does well. So yeah, I mean we see like most South Island events, Troy tops with like Guru. So yeah,
this is a scary deck, and actually I do want to shout out this deck list. Not only, I mean, it's on the 3 Red Eyes Fusion, of course, because this deck is like the Red Eyes Fusion deck, but I got to give him props. He's not playing a Masterix and he's not playing Cave Clash, 2 cards that like I think Guru players just include at this point like by default. And it's interesting to see someone go, you know what? No, I'm just going to play 3 Hidden City, 3 Guru, 3 Fiendus, 1 Nemesis Archer, and that is it. Oh, and 2 Final Battle.
Yeah.
The really good cards, because a Masterix can brick you. Cave Clash it's only good when you're already winning. And ultimately, this deck is kind of just Solemn, followed by Red Eyes Fusion. And then, you know, he's not playing Magicalized Fusion, but, you know, you could theoretically get away with it.
Is kind of like good in this deck for the fact that you just want to get to your Guru as fast as possible. And like
Hidden City, yeah.
And F3, yeah. So
I think the weakness that Guru's always had is that unlike Altergeist, it doesn't necessarily search out very easily its own resource engine. Like Guru can search Final Battle and Fiendus, but Hidden City to Guru I think is more important than spoofing is to Geist. Like Geist just need a multi-faker and like a Silk in rotation, and they can really grind out a game. But Guru need to find City because that's the way that they start playing on both players' turns.
Which makes you wonder why he's not on a terraforming.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess maybe Droll, but apart from that, I can't really think of anything.
You wouldn't. I mean, this deck can't really. I mean, you can Droll it if you want. They'd be like, yeah okay, set Guru.
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't. Yeah,
you know,
I think
a clean 40.
Yeah, I think the first one of the first clean 40s we've seen. So all in all, super diverse top cut for the South Island. You know, congratulations to all of those who did succeed. I think really the biggest takeaway for us being in Auckland, being that this event was a day before our regional, we just saw basically next to no meta, and you go, well, that's absolutely not the case. Because generally you can potentially rely on regionals to be like an indicator of what people are going to play, what people are interested in using. That was just like the barometer for that was in the next building.
I did not go into the regional going like, oh yeah, I'm really planning for the Monarch Earth Machine Guru matchup. Like it just wasn't. I was like, nah, that's some South Island stuff. I'm not gonna worry about it.
I always like watching MCOL 40 like pick up the regional top cuts from our country and like going, what the heck went on here? And then like the comment sections are like losing their mind and things like that. And I just like scroll and laugh, really. It's quite good.
I was going to say, I hate to say that the North Island didn't deliver in that regard, but there's a couple lists in this that are maybe spicy, I suppose. But certainly not first place. I am looking at... So we're moving on to the Auckland Regional that me and Dino played.
Yeah, I guess before we break down lists, do you guys want to talk about your personal records and how you guys went through the day?
Dino, you want to talk about your personal record? I'll just sit back and enjoy hearing you.
I went 6-1 in Swiss, only losing to Luke on Drytron, who also made top 8. And that was just a bit of a series of unfortunate events. Also, sometimes you just lose the die roll to Drytron.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I versed mainly meta throughout the entire day. A couple of big names from New Zealand players, including the big man Kez himself. He was not happy playing the mirror.
Yeah, well, it's a very fascinating mirror. So what did you pilot?
I piloted 10-year Swordsoul, which personally I think is just the best deck by far of the format. Almost no questions asked. And I hate it because the deck is just such a piece of white bread.
Yeah, the lack of flavor that has been seen across a lot of these deck lists is pretty evident. But again, I ring back to the kind of sentiment of like, if it's not broke, you just don't need to fix or innovate it.
Yeah, like, there's no reason to cut down on the Tenyis. There's no reason to cut down on Moyes. Like,
there's no reason to add Swordsoul Assessment or Spitz Chunjun. Like, there's nothing. It is, I would say, probably like 95% solved.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So anyway, first place after Swiss, the only undefeated player was Conor Mcgrath. Is that his name?
Yes.
On 10 years Swordsoul. And boy, this list is looking real familiar. I guess only notable differences from our builds, Dino. He was on 2 Blackout, you were on 1. He played a Vessel. I didn't. You did.
No, Dino didn't.
I cut mine.
Oh, you cut it?
last minute.
Okay, you cut
he was
Vessel. Well,
also
clearly
on
that...
a Called by the Grave.
At
in 44 cards.
44 cards.
A common theme amongst some of our duelists here. But, you know, DP is a card, I guess.
And then the differences in his extra deck is he was running a Crimson Blader, which
Yeah.
I never saw on his field.
I mean, as you'll know with Swordsoul, like, the 14th and 15th extra deck card, like, really don't matter that much. You could just kind of chill.
I remember when we first got this deck, like when Burst of Destiny first came out, and we were like, okay, Chi Zhao, Chen Ying, Baron. Now what?
Yeah.
Baxia.
Yeah, Baxia is pretty good.
Like,
and then
Baxia.
yeah, Dragoute's a negate. And
You're like, oh, I guess like Worm Synchros, like I guess like Berserker,
Yeah.
you know, Ruddy
Berserker's-
Rose is a cool 10.
Berserker's actually crazy. And
Yeah.
Dino really liked Berserker all day. I'm pretty sure you said it was like one of your favorite OTK tools.
Yeah, just the ability to play, like, to pretty much force your opponent to negate your Moyes and Tires and Long Youngs, and then just go into Shaman, bring back just enough resources to get yourself to a Draco Berserker, and that just wipes your opponent's field. The attack gain from that card is permanent. It's a corruption on your opponent's turn. It feels so good to Draco Berserker a Long Young up out of your opponent's
Yeah.
hand.
Its effect is also pretty relevant now because there's so many cards that float, like DPE and I even Berserkered a long one in hand, which just fades the whole effect. Very funny.
Yeah, Dino just said that. Things like Sapphire Swallow, things like Warbler, like, okay, you can special another bird, but like you've lost a level 1.
Yeah, that's
Like,
relevant.
There's so many different ways that can interact. And then obviously, you know, really, I would probably say the star show for this deck is that little main deck monster Arc Nemesis Protoss.
It's like the uninteractive card of the deck. That's what makes it
Yeah.
a little bit more unfair. If they stick it, they win. If they hard open it, sometimes you just lose. Like, I lost mirror games by like stopping all their plays, and they were just like, I don't know, Protoss. You're like, yep,
Sick.
cool.
I'll move on
Yeah,
to
so-
second place, or
Yep.
Yeah,
And
so it's
winner
the
of top 8.
Yeah,
This was-
and this was the winner of the top cut or the top 8. This was Corey, good old Corey, good old local. Hero Tri Brigade.
Exactly. Look at all those hero cards.
Look at all 5-6 hero cards. Again, ain't broke, don't fix. In fact, you made it better by putting a Destroy Phoenix Forcer in here. Like, this deck is nutty. Cat is still broken. The cards that Cat summons are just as broken. And being able to set up Revolt and DPE is probably an FTK against 90% of decks this format. Like non-targeting pops, banishes, floating, the critical mass of hand traps you can play because your engine is essentially 1 to 2 cards is crazy. Like, it is wild how good this deck gets with DPE.
13 hand traps as well. Like 13 hand traps with a Revolt engine is pretty much what the deck is. Like, you know, you stop your opponent from playing, you set up a Revolt, you open up, you set up a DPE, and then you just sit there and just look at your opponent. And
yeah, I saw this man open 2 Gamma, draw into a third one of Ferrigite, and he still won. Like, just because Revolt and just sticking some kind of interaction was enough, like with all these hand traps. And there were some pretty cool lines where he would like pop his own Verte and the DPE, so he'd clear his field so that when he DPE'd on the opponent's turn, Gamma was alive. Like, there were definitely plays in this deck that we saw happen, but ultimately, what wins in this deck is that if you just have a Tri Brigade in hand, you show it to your opponent at some point, they go, yeah, I can't beat that. I'm done.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice watching a bunch of his games is a lot of people don't realize you can imperm a cat on summon, and it
Oh, really?
with no effect if they trigger it off. Like, I
was doing that to him.
On board, he normal summons cat, they let it go.
Were these older players? Do they just think Prio's still a thing?
This was in Top Cut. Like in the finals even as well. the exact same thing happened. Just normal summon's cat doesn't interact with it. I'm just like, huh? And then just played into a gamma. I'm
Nice.
amazed.
Yeah, cat does have. It is not a on summon effect like rabbit, so you do have to activate it.
I guess another cool thing about this deck, I mean, cool, is that Fractal is like such good Ash bait that Gamma is good, and also it means Fusion Destiny is just more likely to resolve because your opponent's going to use their Ash. I don't know.
You're also playing the apparently the unsung hero of this format, access code, legitimately forgotten to the wayside.
Which came up against Blackout, exactly.
Yep.
Because they just had 2 monsters and the opponent goes, that's fine, makes access code, 1 monster on field, can't Blackout. Killed.
Yeah. Access code's so powerful. Great thing. Oh, who's
this?
Yeah, was
Ooh.
it Dinos?
Yeah, Dinos.
Dinos, I think, is third place here after Dinos. Yeah.
Probably the worst Swordsoul list I've seen all day.
Yeah, kind of buck. I mean,
A
realistically,
lot of 2-ofs in here.
yeah,
And they were sick 2-ofs as well.
whole lot of 2.
You do be drawing them.
Realistically, I mean, what would you say was maybe your like highest performing card or card combo in your run, Dino?
Well, Talents was insane because every time I drew it resolved, but that's also Talents being just a pot of greed, a change of heart, or a confiscation, which, like, of course that card's going to be good.
Do you think people weren't playing around it? Because I was still like very conscious of talents every time I used a Veiler or something.
A lot of the times it didn't seem like they could play around it because it was a lot of times that it resolved. It was when I was going second. I almost never got hand trap going first, or whenever I did, I just didn't have talents or just played through it regardless. Yeah, apart from talents, Baxia is insane, and like we said before, Draco Berserker is insane.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason you play 2 Baxia. Like, it's a combo piece, it's removal, it's a decent body, it's a worm.
Per turn. You can
It's not once per turn, yeah.
It can trigger your Shatana.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about talents in Swordsoul is like it's definitely one of those things where it's hard to play around the talents because like if you let a long one resolve and then they go into Baron, then straight away your hand trap's turned off anyway. So like you kind of just wasted the hand trap, and then like so like it's very easy in Swordsoul to like bait out the hand trap because like there's so many important cards that you want resolving because of being like a one card sort of I'm gonna get this. Summoning your Mo Yi. If you let a Mo Yi resolve and let the Chen Ying resolve, like you're just in trouble, right? So like it's very hard to like stop them from profiting from the triple tactics.
It's so funny to me that Swordsoul is actually just a going second deck that pretends to be a going first deck, right? Like it has a good turn 1, but like this deck is insane when you go second, and I think that's what it has over other decks this format. Another thing I noticed in this Auckland regional, so much Mystic Mine, like not pure, like just in decks, and you can see Dino here playing 3 in the side. I was playing 3 in the side. Drytron Mystic Mined you. Bird Up Mystic Mined me. Everyone was just Mystic Mining each other. I mean, why do you think that is, Dino? Do you think that's just the format? People have finally realized Mystic Mine is crazy in combo decks.
Why don't you talk about Joe's favorite card?
Sorry, Joe.
Mystic Mine.
The
card's just at the very worst, it'll eat a negation. There's a lot of the back row right now. You do not want to be putting in Cosmics or Twins or anything like that against these combo decks, but they do have, because the back row they set is always chainables, a D barrier, it's a Feather Storm, so it's so like it feels so bad putting in just a random Cosmic when you're going first or second. But then someone activates Mystic Mine, or the Mystic Mine will resolve, and you will just lose the game because you do not have an out, or your out's going to be tribute all your monsters off and Dragon Circle away, because anyone competent would be playing around, like Oath, End Phase Bounce, or that sort of interaction that decks have as their outs to Mystic Mine.
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, like combining it with Droplet, that's just basically... Like, it does feel like 6 copies of Droplet. It's a going second card that fades interaction that lets you OTK. Or just, like, sometimes you win the game entirely off the back of that one card.
Gross.
It's interesting. I just wonder if it's going to get hit if it starts showing up as Droplet number 5, 4, 5, and 6, you know?
I think it'll depend on... I mean, I'm sure Konami have probably already decided on their ban list, but they might be waiting for the YCSs to see what It does. So hopefully for my sake and for Palmerston North's sake, it does go.
It stays. Perfect. I agree, Joe. Yeah, it can stay. Totally
saying
fine.
that?
I certainly think it won't be everywhere, but people will slowly start to realize this card is just playable in every deck, right?
Well,
Yes,
one of the no, sorry. Continue.
It's going to be a situation of like vanities when it first came out. Everyone's like, no, this card's kind of like okay. And everyone's like, this card's crazy. Maxi, this card's kind of okay. No, this card's crazy.
But you're right.
I think this is the same. Chicken Game was another example. I was like, why would I pay 1,000? Oh, I just draw 3 cards.
Upstart Goblin, yeah.
Like Upstart, well, why would I do that? Oh, I play 3 less cards in my consistent deck. It's getting to that point where I can just play it no matter what my strategy is, which I think is where generics or pseudo floodgate effects, they start to become problematic. I think that's potentially the tipping point, because I don't think there was a problem with Mystic Mine if it dotted up here and there, but to see it at 3 in multiple side decks, that's when I personally start to go, and that's a thinker.
Dino's right that it's the format. Like, there's not a lot of good hits for Cosmic. If you think back to like the format that like Prank Kids and Tri Brigade were everywhere, like Cosmic was great because you could just hit a Revolt in standby and they just have to use it. Which means
Pandemonium, keep them off the fusion.
Exactly. And then if you think back to TOS format, I mean, you had Salad, Orcus, Striker as 3 of the best decks, all that, like, you're just happy to put Cosmic in against those decks, even going first, because a lot of their good plays revolved around field spells or some kind of continuous spell resolving, stuff like that. So it is format dependent. But I mean, Mystic Mine is a card that actually has the ceiling of you win the game. And I think that card might be a little bit too good. Like, when you just play 10-year Swordsoul and your game plan can actually be activate Mystic Mine and your opponent will have sided out all their mine outs because it's 10-year Swordsoul, that's not good.
Yeah. Well,
you just look at your opponent and you go, you got an out? And they go, no.
Moving on to 4th place, we see kind of the first, I guess, rogue deck.
Oh, yeah.
Of the tournament in the top cut. So
this one's funky.
It's Jordan G. I don't know the last name there, sorry.
Grace.
Yeah.
Grace, there you go.
So Jordan's a close friend. Jordan's actually a local at Card Merchant, and I'm so happy that he topped out the gate.
So his first large-scale competitive event, I believe, apart from maybe like the store extravaganzas that were being held before they kept getting shut down last year. I think his first event at this large of a caliber. And 4th place, I believe his record was X11, so that would have been 511. And 4th place.
Yeah, he's been grinding this deck out, and even said playing against you, Ruben, like, I guess helped him learn a lot more about the deck because you were just like putting him through the ropes every hobby with Striker. And I think that's a pretty good deck to test against if you want to like add resilience or some kind of grindability to your deck. The One Desires is funky. I think he put that in like last minute. He was just like looking for another card or something.
Actually, no. I feel like he was on originally 3 Desires, but that card is really bad in multiples and live twins. And I said, cut Desires, run something like Silent Mind. Oh, he was only on 1 home, and I'm like, because he was complaining he wasn't seeing his name, so he wanted to draw more cards. So that's when he was running 1 home. So I convinced him, run 3 home, you'll see more names, drop your Desire, they're not that good. Because you want to be keeping your Scythe in deck, you want to be keeping your twins in deck for as long as possible, so you can grind out. Like, if you banish the main deck Evil Twin, your Sunny suddenly becomes a lot worse than Graveyard, and you actually need setup before I can out something.
Yeah, and you have 1 Scythe. Even if you banish like 2 copies of one of the small ones that can summon from deck, like that's rough too, because then you only get to resolve one of them once. He did really well, and I mean, like, off the back of the fact that this is a 1-card engine deck that can really easily make, it can do Scythe stuff. The engine can pop the Scythe if you just draw it. This was definitely a Scythe deck, all in all.
A phenomenal OTK deck. Being able to just stun out for 1 turn, like kind of flick away resource gain, and being able to just completely come back and OTK is really powerful. I think all in all, this is it's really refreshing to see this in Auckland. Like we said, this is kind of a common place. You'd see something more like this in Christchurch.
This is a South Island ass list.
This is a South Island list.
Shade at the South Island.
But no, it's like...
Tell me I'm wrong.
In terms of representation, like, I think that this is where, like, this is probably the first of the cool ones to see in a top cut of an event. But please cut desires. In the fifth place.
Speaking of cool decks, it's
yeah.
invoked, baby.
So we have Ashley Martin on, I believe it is the now coined Hero Shadol Invoke Dogmatica.
My favorite Hero Shadol deck. My
favorite Hero Shadol deck, all 7 cards. Oh no, there's more in the extra deck, apologies. This is... We are really in 2022, and
this is a good deck.
Normal summoning Alistair.
Playing 2 Invocation, bold. You know, some people cut it to 1. But you can make DPE with it, so can't be that bad.
Yeah,
right?
you can. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything to say about this. Was playing Token Collector?
Yep.
1 Dystopia in the side. Are you kidding me?
Why?
Why?
Burn in time.
One in time.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fair. I was like, you can't modulate his attack.
That's literally your strategy. You're like, oh, well, time. Guess I'll just Dystopia burn.
My favorite strategy in Hero, stall for time. That deck loses or wins in 7 minutes. That's never come up.
6th, we had Luke Dutton, fellow judge from the North Island Championships. Lovely gentleman. 6th place with Drytron. I think this deck succeeded. And we had also Harry, our friend Harry did quite well. He got what?
16th with Drytron. 2-1-1. Pretty good record. Not 2-1. X1-1. X2-1, sorry.
X2-1.
X2-1. X1-1 would have topped.
Just. Really fascinating deck. Ratios are a touch suspicious.
Well, this is just a slightly messy, dueling book layout. It actually looks fine to me.
There's 2 orange light.
Yeah,
2 ash.
That's standard, actually, along a lot of topping lists because
that's buck wild.
Well, I mean, it's searchable. You don't have to open it, and if you don't care that much about Droll, which the Dragoon decks don't care too much.
I noticed.
It's just a lot 2 on board.
Of Drytron lists have dropped their Herald down to 2.
Yeah.
When I've been looking them up, because I've just built the deck myself, playing it, and 2 works all right. Actually, yeah.
I quite like the 3 of each name.
Yeah, something this format I was actually about to say was 3 of each name is every deck right now. Striker's playing 3 Ray, 3 Rose. Live Twins, you want to max on every single Live Twin searcher / name. What else? Swordsoul, you play basically 3 of every Swordsoul.
The birds, you're on 3 fractal, 3 blue, 3 or 3
3
yellow,
barrel, 3
brown.
white. Basically, the whole way you play this format is you just have to see your best cards. Every single game.
Yeah.
Because there's so much OTK, there's so much punish for not seeing names.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dino? Something pertinent to Drytron?
Something personal to this list is I hate it so much, mainly because I lost to this in Swiss and I lost to this in top 8. Only 2 losses of the event.
So you're saying he's just the better duelist?
And a lot of that was I was giving too much respect, which...
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we drink that pickle juice of respect being shown to decks that may not potentially
Luke
happen.
was also the king of, I'm playing 1 lance here and I just drew it. Lol.
Yeah, he really was.
45 cards he opened Token Collector versus Udino, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Extremely funny.
Very upset. Yep.
Yeah. 7th place, we had the International Man of Mystery and Travel, G-Man, a
From
Wellington
Welly.
local, who participated in the Christchurch event, did terribly, and then flew up to Auckland the day of and came 7th. On I believe it's a 50-card Dragon Link deck.
50-card Dragon Link DPE.
Yeah, with Gamma and Nibiru and hand traps, which is super fascinating.
It's the sided chamber for me.
Yeah.
he did justify that. But it is
so
still
speaking
funny.
with G-Man, his reasoning for not maining the chamber was it was a lot worse if you lost die rolls. And I mean, to be fair, he is also on triple black metal, which is very uncommon for the Dragon Link decks, as well as, the double safer. Generally, you aren't really on that many black metal in a more compact list if you are opting to put the chambers into the main. So he was just mainly, it's a more effective go first side, in which I agree. Realistically, you're really only getting a bounce and then a reborn if you really need the material. Yeah, it's not a lot of unique. DP is definitely interesting, but once again, it's One of the best.
These are all the good dragon cards. I mean, no one's going to say that these aren't the ones you play in a Dragon Link deck. Like, there's no reason to take out Tracer, which he is playing at 2. I mean, it's interesting seeing
quick launch, like
50 card deck, but like 2 Tracer, 2 Safer, maxing on Black Metal Dragon. I'm sure he has like a lot of good. G-Man's the kind of guy that always like has reasons for things, and I'm sure there's a reason for Black Metal being presumably his favorite normal in the deck. Can definitely see that. I mean, it gets you advantage. It sets up your graveyard to some extent for the Collapse Serpent Wyver Burster stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
A bit off topic of the deck, but G-Man himself, like, he has to be the most travelled player in New Zealand because
he does. Yeah,
he was at both my Palmerston North events, the Wellington Regional, the Christchurch one, and the Auckland one, all within the space of like a month and a half, 2 months.
God,
like,
what a champ!
He travels to everything, and I mean, respect to him. He bounced back from a couple of like. I saw him at the Wellington Regional, and he didn't do too well, and he was gutted, and he was like, "Oh, I want to go get another top." And straight away,
he's just literally topping through attrition.
Yeah,
like if I go to enough events, I will top with Dragon Link, and he's not
statistical
wrong.
likelihood.
Yeah.
I will get there.
I can get behind that. I would love going like every month to a different event.
Yeah. He was playing Mech Knight Invoke for a long time, and he's just moved back on to Dragon Link.
Yeah, and he said it got him 0 tops, so he doesn't want to play it anymore.
Yeah, I played against him around 3 or 4, and knowing G-Man was always on his Mech Invoke deck, I didn't realize he was on Dragon Link yet. I made him go first, and he put up the full Dragon Link board minus the DPE against me. I'm just looking at him like, I shouldn't have made him go first. And then Swordsoul being Swordsoul, I just OTK through it. It's such a dumb deck.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out to G-Man. Came 7th, topped, paid
Making
for his
the
hotel
most.
by pulling a DPE as well.
Yeah.
He's making the most of playing Dragons for the last time there. Good.
There's still time
Thanks,
before
guys.
that branded fusion comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dimension Force. And then finally, 8th place. This was Chris. Now, he is a very new player, or at least to me, not in my circle and sphere. But he was piloting Fluanderies. Now, this is again very much like the standout list of, I think, the event, similar to how Jordan was, because this has been seeing little to no competitive success. It's kind of crazy. What are your thoughts, Luca? You and Joe play Fluander, but what are your opinions on this deck in this current meta?
I don't want to be too salt about this matchup. Chris was really nice, and I liked playing against him. I did lose the die roll, and I did end up losing my match against him. And I literally just watched him make like 5 misplays like throughout the entire resource grind. Like he ended up like losing all of his big birds at really inopportune moments, and like he tried to target Ecclesia with Riser, and I'm like, that's awesome, I'll just tag it out. Stuff like that, and I still ended up losing because I just drew so bad against it, and he went first and set up barrier statue locks, and I was playing Swordsoul, like I couldn't beat it. It seems fine. Like he was definitely drawing really well. Like he had Robina in his opening hand practically every time, which is essentially the only 1-card starter in the entire deck. Interesting choice to not play 2 Empen. There were like multiple turns in a row where I could have won the game if I drew any normal summon, because he just didn't have another target in deck for Eaglin, and he was just hitting me with Empen over and over again, which seemed kind of tough. Like I feel like only playing 3 high-level names is a risk in that regard. Like if you get ground out, you just lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, evenly, Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, D-Shifter, like all these cards were just really good at helping him break through boards that Fluander definitely cannot break.
I think main decked evenly would take a lot of people off guard.
Oh yeah.
But that would still so many wins, because people set up their boards sometimes without thinking about a trap that's going to banish your whole field. So...
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, super interesting. He drew like absolutely terrible in top 8.
Yeah, he bricked in top 8 after like
twice.
The most gas hands in Swiss I've ever
bricked
seen.
So bad twice. It was kind of like heartbreaking to see. I mean, I think that this deck gets a lot better once Battle of Chaos comes out. Like the amount of times that even just in top 8 alone, he just lost to the Imperm or the Veiler.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, wow, you just have like a copy of Journey Preparations and you are off to the races.
This deck is currently quite high roll, and like you said, you get to top cut and you look at his hand and it'll be like the continuous
Literally
spell, 2 big birds, and a D-Shifter.
Matched.
Yeah, and you're just like, this does nothing. Like this deck has arguably 3 3 real starters and then a bunch of conditional starters, so it's tough.
Yeah. I will say the deck is pretty cool resolving just basically dig through time. Like, you don't care about your extra deck, you don't care about special summoning, so Prosperity and Duality continue to be free.
He did Duality into a Prosperity against me, which is just very funny. I love when people do that.
Yeah, you might as well.
You look at the 3 and you're like, these all suck, I'll take the Prosperity.
Yeah, I guess I'll keep looking. So yeah, all in all, and then 9th place was our lovely Kez on Swordsoul. You know, blessed bridesmaid. So yeah, all in all, great events. Super, I would say, diverse showings. I think great competitive showings. Obviously, congratulations to Dino for making it to the top 8 in this event. You know, this is the first real large event back after them COVID times. I mean, you know, congratulations to Lucas, like actually coming, like you didn't end up coming at 33rd.
Yeah. we got kind of scrubbed out a little bit. It's fine.
And like, you know, that's the thing is it's like these events are new or newer to some people. They are events that not a lot of people will have attended in the past or obviously as of recent because there really haven't been any. So it's a really good training ground to see where a lot of people are with the game in their own personal growth, as well as, like Lucas said, brings a lot of players out of the woodwork. Some people who go, events are back, huh? Okay.
People who, when I summoned Moye, were like, what does that do? And I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, really just been out of the meta, haven't we?
And I will say as well, there was another cool announcement at this event, if we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, people can talk about my job, it's fine.
Exactly. So Ruben was head judge at this event. Ruben did not play. And it was also announced that Ruben is now the organized play manager of Yu-Gi-Oh! In New Zealand.
Ooh, clap, clap.
Yeah. I mean, I already knew,
That's
of
awesome.
course, that was like in the works, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. I mean, you went from like, you know, starting Yu-Gi-Oh! A couple of years ago to now like running Yu-Gi-Oh! In New Zealand. That's pretty extraordinary.
3 Order of the Spellcaster structure decks to judging events and booking premieres.
So proud of you.
Battle of Chaos is coming up, so be sure to head to your stores for those premiere events, people.
Hell yeah.
And I think the final note for us, we are, you know, very fortunate living in the future, and we have just seen the remote dual YCSs conclude in America and Latin America.
Yeah, should we just do a quick sweep of the decks? Because we don't have any of the deck lists.
No deck lists. You might as well just bring up the little breakdown that we found, I think, earlier.
Like 11 Swordsoul 10E, 7 Lureless Tri Brigade, a couple of B Troopers, some Dogmatica and Invoke decks. 1 Eldritch and 1.
How brave of them.
2 or 3 Sky Strikers as well. So I mean, we've seen pretty much a solved format. We're just in the ban list waiting room now.
Yeah, we are. And then Latin America was won by Shadol Hero Invoke Dogmatica, which is crazy. Like, that is really the deck that is doing well. But I think all in all, like you said, Joe, we're in a ban list waiting room. Those kind of decks that are succeeding are the ones that have the most resilience and diligence throughout a long form tournament. For reference, the North American event took 3 hours to get to round 3. Round 2 took 3 hours to get to round 2. I believe it was 6 hours to get to round 4.
Jesus.
It was a slow burn for that one. But, you know, all in all, very solid format. Obviously, we're recording this and there is no ban list out at this moment in time. I guess, you know, I mean, I like asking this question, but like after playing this event, Joe, after playing locals, do you think there's anything that needs to be called for a ban after seeing it in a more competitive setting? I guess, Lucas, do you want to start?
Mystic Mine, Protoss, Harpy's Featherstorm, Scythe, and Io probably are the 5 cards I would say need to get banned. Not because they dominated the event. I'm just bored. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Mystic Mine's like the only fun one, and even then, like, it's annoying that every deck can just play it now. So,
yeah.
Bye.
Dino, anything from you that after playing this event that you think is maybe more of a problem, less of a problem, something that you would probably want to take away?
My big takeaway is every single deck was on at least 12 hand traps, and more than that, like 15 to 18 board breakers, just because the decks starting boards going first are so oppressive between the bird board, Protoss, and just all these random combo decks, and even Invoke Shadol, Dogmatica, Hero, blah blah blah, that you just need so many hand traps and going second cards that half your deck is full of them, which limits deck building so much, limits the decks that can play well. That
it's like if you draw 5 of your archetype cards, you're like, ah, crap. Like,
I've lost.
I can't break any board with this. I guess maybe Swordsoul's the exception.
Which is like, I really don't like that in the format. I like it when you can play like 8 hand. Like I think 8 is a comfortable amount of hand traps, or less than 10, where like your deck, your engine is what you play with. Like that's how I think it should be, and it's really tough seeing this format. It's just more and more hand traps, more and more going second cards, so you can actually break boards and not instantly lose going second.
So you can actually play. Like the ideal Yu-Gi-Oh format is when both players get a turn to play, and then the interaction starts, right?
Yeah, maybe that's kind of why. That's why I personally enjoy like Sky Striker, because you're like, I can't kill you. You have to do something.
Like Sky Striker matches are always fun because you don't just like see what they make turn 1 and scoop. You always have a chance to like capitalize on a misplay that they make, or throw a DD Crow in at like an inopportune moment for them that actually scuffs a whole turn. Like that just doesn't happen when you're going up against Swordsoul and they Protoss you. You're like, no.
Yeah, cool, sick. Joe, anything from you as the most hated man at Hobby?
My I guess gripe with this format is like outside of Swordsoul 10 year, it's just DPE.deck, and I think a lot like by next ban list, because I don't think it's going to be hit this ban list. By next ban list, we're really going to be sick of seeing DPE on the field.
It is DPE versus the world, yeah. I mean, Tri-Brigade Lyrilisk is not playing DPE.
No,
that's the one.
Not,
yeah.
The two best decks of the format aren't playing DPE. So.
Yeah, I guess all the other decks to kind of keep up with those have to play like a DPE engine or something. You know, it's just a bit dumb. I don't like it. It limits like as it's the Dragoon problem all over again. Where it's like, let's not play my deck. Let's just play the boss monster. It's
the Alistair threshold of like, you know, you could play your deck or you could normal Alistair, which is better. And if your deck isn't better than normal Alistair, you should just be playing Invoked.
Listen, I only normal summon Alaba. Or not normal summon at all, with adventure tokens coming out.
I'm excited. Yeah, and it sounds like we've all got the same opinion about the format, that it's just filling decks full of redundant cards that we should probably just get rid of.
It's just on its way out, and that's fine. Like that's kind of, it's like a healthy progression in the game when you're like, okay, we're good. We've seen it. We've done it. We've solved it. We've played it. Bring us something new. And I think it's time. It's time for something new.
Yeah, speaking of something new, like I feel like the biggest event in New Zealand for the first event, I should say, after the ban list, potentially will be the 3v3, which we're all going to be at. And really looking forward to that. So
post-adventure token.
Post-adventure token. No Battle of Chaos legal, but adventure tokens will be available to those who wish to attend.
God, I'm happy I don't have to design this next ban list. I actually reckon it's probably one of the toughest ban lists Konami's ever had to put out, because considering the fact that Adventure Token is going to like even further radicalize people towards going second, because it just adds an extra redundancy piece for every combo deck. It's going to be a weird one, like whether or not they just go for a massive nuke and just reset everything, or if they just unlimit a bunch of stuff to make things more chaotic. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
no one's going to be happy.
No clue.
Whatever they do.
You know, as always, free the sea, release the piece, unban the plan. That's all we ask.
Maybe that's the move. Yeah. We only have to play 3 hand traps, so we got Max C. Just 3 Max C, baby.
And 3 Ash. Yeah.
And 3 Ash. Yeah.
But yes, so this kind of concludes our little regional wrap up. If this episode comes out after a ban list, apologies. We'll try and put something up as soon as possible. If it comes out before, we're still waiting. But as always, thank you so much to everyone who's listened. If you are watching along with us on YouTube, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help. Share it with your friends. I got some lovely messages or like comments from people at the regional that they loved our podcast and they like listening to it.
Shout out to everyone who came up to me and said, I like the podcast. That's awesome. Especially people who weren't from Auckland. Feels awesome. Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys enjoy and we enjoy putting out content. But make sure to give us a follow on your preferred podcast app. Share it with a friend. And if you do have any questions, queries, comments, or ruling questions, please feel free to contact us at thefacedowns@gmail.com. We're probably going to try to like another...
We'll do another Q&A soon. So send in your emails, questions, comments, and under the Facebook post if you find us there as well.
Yeah, we love answering questions.
Before we forget as well, 4th of February, when's the 3v3?
5th.
For Palmy? 5th of February, Palmerston North 3v3 and cross banlist tournament. Going to be fantastic. And February 26th, Card Merchant Hamilton.
Whee! Yes.
New franchise.
Store, as of today.
We'll be hosting a free win 2 cases of OTS something. Bode.
Something
a crap ton of prizing for free. Sponsored by William Giles, again, the guy who hosted the Pranky Boys tournament, doing one for us, and that is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So put that in your calendar as well.
And be sure, Auckland Anniversary Weekend for anyone in the Auckland region, be sure to hit a card merchant on, I believe, that Saturday
29th.
For the 29th for win a Nintendo OLED model Switch tournament. Luke and I won't be there. We'll be enjoying the Sunny Nelson. But good luck to anyone that does attend.
Dino, go win a 4th Switch.
Yeah, go win a couple more Switches, gal. That's all we ask. But
that's all the plugging. Yep.
That's all the plugging. Be sure to follow us as well. And
like and subscribe.
And as always, thank you so much for listening. I'm Ruben.
I'm Lucas.
And I'm Joe.
And I'm Dino.
And you've been listening to
The Face Down.
Oh, did a different one.
Worst one ever. Nice one. Worst one ever. I love it.